Depends on where you value Kenny Gainwell.
I don't value him very high at all. The problem is he's just offering so much. Like,
why not though?
All that bid money that's all of his bid money. He's offering his whole wallet.
Ba-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da. What if we could plan it out? Cabo for a week, Paris for a day, wee. You can come and be my babe, you can see what a gentleman I am.
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champion, AB. Next to him, it's my guy, Dio the Machine, our dynasty guru. Guys, let's start from the beginning. Starting to draft again, at least. AB is starting to draft again.
Yeah. We don't stop.
I haven't jumped into a redraft yet, although I do have a dynasty draft going right now. We'll talk about dynasty a little later.
They in the game. Finally.
Yes, sir.
We'll get to that, but they finally in the game.
Let's talk about drafting strategies. Listen, last year came up short. Two-time champion, 2 straight times. This year you came up short. What are you doing different this year from last year?
A lot. You know, we talked about it earlier that every year is different, and this year, that holds true. Even more so, I think. I've been in 2 FFPC redrafts. I've done a startup, and you can already tell that the board feels very unsettled. You know, ADPs are kind of, you can tell are going to look drastically different in a couple of months from now. And so ideally what I'm trying to do right now is take advantage of that. But from a strategy standpoint, I think first you have to appreciate the changing landscape in the NFL. We have tons of new head coaches who've never been head coaches before. We have tons of new offensive coordinators who've never been offensive coordinators before. And I think that's something that is really going to make assessing these players and their worth.
Not to mention,
important.
we talked about it earlier, new quarterback and new situations.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, quarterbacks do bring their own offense to wherever they're going. So kind of so many factors that are different compared to the way we ended last year.
Absolutely. So I think, situations like Miami, where now you have a Waddle and a Hill, how to value these players and who's worth what and where you take them are going to be very, very difficult because you can assume that it's going to look like that's Shanahan San Francisco offense, but we really don't know. Right. They've had so many different signings and additions that, yes, we know they want speed and maybe they want to,
They got Cedric Wilson too.
Yeah, and maybe they want guys who can provide yak, but what is that offense really going to look like?
Y'all saw that video Miami posted the other day?
Tua's though?
It's practice. Come on, practice.
Does that
talk
mean
about
anything?
Practice. No.
And don't forget about Gesicki too.
Practice.
Gesicki's there too.
Yeah.
I'm sure he can get the ball a little bit deeper, a little bit more on time.
Sure can.
Yeah.
But do you know what it feels like though? That video feels like when Mike Davis' picture came out last year, and everybody freaked out over the picture because his legs were so big, and it was
for a good thing.
But that was a positive.
Yeah.
That was a positive.
But this seems like the opposite of that, though. It just seems.
That might bring Tua's ADP down.
Right.
Well, his ADP really isn't even that high, which doesn't make a lot of sense.
Drafted now. Shit. I don't even want his ass.
But that's what I'm saying. So right now, when you look at the board, it doesn't make a lot of sense. That Waddle's going in the 4, Hill's going in the 2nd, and then Tua is I
think there's a fundamental issue with what you just said right there.
Absolutely.
I don't think both of them should be. Maybe one of them. So I guess if they're going 2nd and 4th, then people are just staking their claim like this is the guy. But definitely, I don't see both of them holding up.
And this is the thing, and we're going to see a lot of this on Twitter. We're going to hear a lot of this on various podcasts, and I'm interested to hear people's various viewpoints. But I doubt there's going to be an argument that's going to be able to be made for a Hill or for a Waddle that's in favor of why I should be drafting them in the 2nd and 4th round. There's nothing that you can tell me with certainty as far as what this offense is going to look like. Target, projections is going to make me feel comfortable taking a Tyreek Hill there when I can draft someone like an Alvin Kamara. And, even if that carries a risk with it, or go with the safe floor like a Stephon Diggs. And definitely, for me, not draft him over somebody like a CeeDee Lamb. So I feel like there's a lot of guys. And I understand playing for upside, but the point of that is basically, there's less certainty across the NFL landscape than there have been in years past. And I think you have to understand that. So my strategy this year, is one that's definitely still evolving, but the core principles stand, remain the same. And that's, I want players who are going to score a lot of fantasy points, and I want those players at value. And I want to try to do that with every pick. And in my mind, if I can do that and win the draft, and then, obviously, in season, make the right start-sit decisions, make sure that I'm, playing the waiver wire right, ideally that puts me ahead of the field. But there's a lot right now that I look at, when I'm looking at the board, there's a lot right now where I feel like, there's some guys that are criminally undervalued. And it makes me just want to hop in a lot more drafts to try and take advantage right now. But we'll see. It's May. Things can change. We talked about, players, the idea of, certain situations like a Jonathan Taylor, where even if a running back gets added to that room, it's not necessarily going to change its value all that much. But then you have someone like a James Conner, depending on the signing, if that gets added, depending on where he's going in drafts, are you going to feel comfortable still drafting him there? So, players like that, if I drafted James Conner at the back end of the third, early fourth, I need to have in my mind that, okay, if they bring in another running back, will I feel comfortable still drafting that player at that, ADP?
Man, they're going to just rock with Keontae Ingram, man.
I'm not a fan.
It's crazy hearing you say that, because I haven't really thought about it. I don't think I'd be worried at all if they brought in another running back. I don't care who they bring in, because the way they used Connor when Chase was out last year, he was a true bell cow. Not only as being the main back, he was getting all the receiving work.
Yeah.
He was getting the goal line work, and
I agree.
they were utilizing him. And then on top of that, they, to some extent, rewarded him this offseason by giving him that type of contract.
A nice contract. And he's still fairly young, too.
He's very young. I think he was drafted like 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. So, I feel good. The only thing with James Conner, and I preface this by saying I haven't done any drafts yet. So I have no idea what ADP looks like right now. But if you're telling me Connor's falling in the running back 2 range,
absolutely.
maybe even running back 3, I'm all over that, because if you recall, the way Connor played last year when Edmonds was out, he was like a top 3, 4 running back.
He was elite. And you look at, so when you look at the board right now, you can get him at the end of the third. And a guy like Fournette, who everybody's high on, and granted, some of it's, valid based off of his play last year, but he's going, I've seen him go as high as like early second. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's a bad pick, but that's a high value pick to me. Like, that's a lot of value to be put in a running back that really has only done it 1 year, and he's not really that efficient on the ground. We're really banking on a lot of catches out of the backfield.
It's crazy.
So I'd rather get a Connor, and if you want to look at his situation where, okay, yes, he's a lead back and there's a clear, handcuff, because I do value that. Like, I love Madison going at the back end of the first and being able to snag, Dalvin Cook going at the back end of the first and being able to snag Madison late to lock up that backfield. You can kind of feel that way, maybe feel a little bit comfortable with Fournette. But, again, that's a situation where I feel like they could still bring in a veteran running back, given that it's Tom Brady and they want to win a ship.
Here's my issue with Fournette. And, again, I haven't thought about this at all. But just hearing you say it, the only reason why I'm a little, kind of light on comfort level with Fournette is they drafted a rookie running back in the 3rd round.
Rashad White.
And supposedly his calling card is how well he is in the receiving game.
I'm not a fan. I'm a Rashad White hater. I'll put that on tape right now, and I could be 100% wrong.
But you know what we always say: it's not about what we think; it's about what the coaches
but there's a couple
think.
different things. So a couple different arguments that I would push back on that. Number one, this is a team that wants to win now. Okay, and Tom Brady is their running back or is their quarterback. Tom Brady is going to dictate who they want back there. And how often do we see him put a rookie back there? Because he's going to want that rookie to pass protect. Tom Brady's MO, yes, he'll dump it down a lot, but his MO is not to necessarily look for his running back first.
Right.
He wants to be able to look downfield. So if he doesn't have a running back there that he feels comfortable with from a pass protection standpoint.
Right. So, I hear you, but the only thing I can say is they drafted him in the 3rd round. They could have tried to fill so many other needs. There were so many other running backs taken in the 4th, 5th, 6th round that they could have taken. Yet they feel like for some reason their 3rd pick, and it might even been their 2nd pick.
You know who they took in the 3rd round the year before? Kyle Trask. And we've heard recent
quarterback. I mean,
we've heard recent comments. They said that he's like not even like
right, but
like he may not even make the team.
But quarterback is different. Quarterback is one of those players you just try to draft one and see if you can develop him and see if you can either keep him for the future or flip him. But a running back, a position that literally you could take so much later and it'd be somebody that's useful, and you still feel like we got to take this guy in the third. It just makes me hesitate a little bit. With that being said, going back to what we were talking about.
But I don't think he's a threat to Fournette.
I mean, I don't know what he is. I'm not going to sit here and say this is what he is.
Yeah.
I'm just saying what we know is they felt like he needed to be drafted in the third.
But they also,
And again, the fact that they say his skill set is in the receiving game.
It is.
Like, it's not like I haven't watched much of him, to be honest. And it's kind of bad since he's like I'm in rookie drafts in my dynasty leagues and he's being picked up in the first two rounds. But if they're saying his calling card is how well he is in the receiving game, and he was drafted in the third, just hearing those two things right there makes me like, Now with Connor, and again, I'm already bringing up these rookies, dynasties on my brain. I really do like Keontae Ingram. Yeah, I mean, I know he was super drafted. Like, you went to UT, you watched him, right?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
But
both those guys are like Jags to me. Like,
no, they might be. But running back,
Rashad White, you watch his film, and I don't see that. He plays slow to me. I know he ended up running a decent 40, but to me, he plays slow. He's some guy like, yes, he has good hands. Maybe he can make the first guy. But I question how well he's going to be.
But the thing with these guys that we're talking about now, we're not drafting them high because of what we think their talent is. If we draft them at all.
Yeah.
These are guys we're only looking at because they're the players where if something happens, they can get an opportunity.
Yeah.
And with running back, opportunity is king.
Yeah.
Like, who's the guy on the Lions last year that just came out? Craig Reynolds, I think is his name. All he needed was opportunity. Yeah. He gave you like 2-3 good weeks. Dearness Johnson. Just needed opportunity.
Yeah, but those guys are good. No, I'm joking. I am a Rashad White hater. But getting back to the original point with Fournette, like, I think, drafting him that high early in the second to me is drafting him at his ceiling. And that's something like for that type of running back, an aging running back who's really reliant on the receiving work and the touchdowns, that to me does not make me feel as comfortable drafting him this early in May at that position.
Is the first round of drafts mainly running backs or mainly receivers?
No, it's a decent mix. I mean,
any quarterbacks?
And you can go anywhere. There's no quarterbacks in the first round.
Okay.
Yeah, no one's doing that.
So just
Josh Allen maybe like early
second,
third,
okay.
Early third. Maybe somebody.
Other than Kelsey, is anybody? Well, is Kelsey even in the first round?
Kelsey and Andrews are both in the first round.
Andrews in the first.
Yeah.
Okay,
oh wow,
so 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
And the other 10 are receiver running backs.
Receiver running backs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me jump in for a second because every single season we have this discussion.
I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to interject.
You need to hop in the draft.
Yeah, look, it's our first episode in a while, so excuse us. We dusting off our
OTA.
or whatever. Yeah,
OTA.
I didn't answer my draft strategy.
Go ahead.
My draft strategy.
Well, I'm about to get back to that because every single season we have this discussion of zero RB or robust, RB.
Yeah,
Dio, take us through your strategy. Have you changed it from last year?
Now, remember, I haven't drafted yet, so I really don't have a solid strategy. And me doing rookie drafts, and we talked about this earlier, when I'm in rookie draft mode, I got to stay in my dynasty mode. I can't flip back and forth redraft. I literally have to kind of space it out. But when I do plan on getting on drafts, and I guess first let me answer your question, robust running back or zero running back?
Or zero.
I guess I was actually going to answer the question, but at this point, I actually kind of favor 0/hero running back at this point, and let me tell you why. At this point of the offseason in drafts, I really feel like the most uncertainty surrounds backfields.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like receivers are kind of solidified.
Yeah.
I mean, you have these people that kind of sleepers that come out of nowhere and impress during OTAs or training camp, and they actually end up being wide receiver 3. But nobody's going from unknown right now to wide receiver 1 a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
We kind of thought maybe Marquez Callaway was going to do that last year. He kind of ended up being a dud. You know what I'm saying?
Terrible.
So most of the wide receiver 1/wide receiver 2, we kind of know.
Yeah.
Right?
Agreed.
While on the other end, these backfields, we were just talking about the Dolphins.
Yeah.
We could say it's going to be Chase.
Yeah.
But if Sony end up starting week 1, we ain't just gonna be like, oh my gosh. We're gonna be like, okay, that's what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So
I should have known better. I should have known better.
Hey, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? If we see Rex Burkhead start week 1,
I'm not gonna be as surprised at all.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? But these backfields at the moment, you can ask 10 different people and they all have, well, they won't have 10 different answers, but they'll all probably say a mixture of things.
Yeah.
So at this stage of the draft season, I would tend to, and I did this in the past, pick these wide receivers that I know are locked in, high ceilings if possible, and then stab at as many ambiguous backfields as I can in the back end of the draft. Because what's going to happen is, as the offseason progresses and we start getting more clarity, these running backs, ADPs, are going to start to rise up. They're going to start to rise up. And then at that point, it's almost like, who was the guy that happened to last year? Darrell Henderson? Even though he wasn't much of anything, when it wasn't truly ambiguous, but he was just kind of like, we didn't know what was going on.
I will tell you this, though, as I'm drafting now, like when I look at the elite, like that tier of elite wide receiver ones, to me, there's a significant drop off.
After them?
And when I look at that and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to decide, okay, do I want Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, or Stephon Diggs? I'm going Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara. That's just like, that's just how I feel. Like, I can't.
But you were always a robust RB guy, though.
I'm not robust RB. Like,
it seems like last season you were.
In previous years. This year, I don't think that, I don't care what you do. Like, I'll do anything this year. But what I'm actually exploring with now, because I think I actually have CeeDee Lamb now in that top tier. So understanding like that drop off at wide receiver, I'm fine taking CeeDee like in the first round and then coming back and getting my running back in the second round.
So, but the only pushback I'll have on that strategy is, and I didn't mention this before, but it also kind of supports what I was trying to say earlier, is running backs do also tend to get injured from now until the beginning of the season. More so, I think, so the receiver. I'm not saying receivers don't get hurt. But you draft your Dalvin and Kamara now.
But that's
and 2 months from here they get hurt. And
I understand that, and that's the
kind of like what happened with J.K. Dobbins. That's what I was trying to. J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards.
And that's the argument. That's the argument with zero RB, and that's why I'm not going to fault anybody for wanting to go zero RB. But I know the way that I draft, I'm willing to take that risk because to me, like that's an acceptable risk to have those two elite running backs. But ideally, if I could start my draft off, I would ideally like to start off with two of those top tier wide receivers because I am in agreement. I feel like there are running backs that I can get later in drafts that can produce RB1 numbers. Like finding that elite wide receiver later is very, very hard.
And to finish off what I was saying, yes, at this stage of the offseason, yes, like I said, I'm probably doing zero running back / and I hate to say that because everybody's gonna start judging me like,
don't even call it.
He's a zero running back guy.
Don't even call it.
But I just draft. Like like I'm always looking for strategy. I'm always looking for edges and stuff, right? I feel like that's an edge you can have right now. But as the offseason progresses and we get closer to the season, I slowly venture. Maybe not even slowly. Maybe one day just switch. I say, okay, now I'm going to get these running backs because now I feel like we know who the starters are. They most likely are going to do a lot in the preseason, so likely their chance of getting hurt are low. You know what I'm saying? So, but right now I feel like you can really give value if you hit these ambiguous backfields the right way.
All right, let's stay on the topic of running backs for a second because I want to talk about how you guys are evaluating these aging running backs. And not only age as to their actual age, but also running backs with a little bit of tread like Zeke. Because Zeke is really only 26, but for a running back, he has a lot of tread on those tires. So how are you guys valuing these aging running backs?
I know why you're asking this question.
You know why I asked that question.
But anyway,
pilot season.
Pilot season, I know. So just like with everything, like we always preface this, every situation is different. And I think for this particular question, you have to highlight that. There are bell cow running backs and 3-down running backs, and then there are running backs that like share the workload, but that still can operate on 3 downs. And then there are running backs that are in committees, meaning they may just be the early down back or they may be the passing down and hurry up back. And I think you have to distinguish the two. So when I look at the aging running back, a Derrick Henry is very different than a Zeke Elliott. And their ADPs reflect that. Because even though Derrick Henry is older and coming off an injury and at high risk for injury, or we would assume anyway, he's still getting all 3 downs and getting all the work. Where
is Derrick Henry being drafted right now?
I want to say first.
First?
Back into first, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I want to say first. Maybe he falls to the second, but
So there's
it's not far
no
in the second.
Injury, age, workload discount whatsoever.
He's not going top 5. It's usually.
He wasn't really going top
first.
5 last year. He was going like middle, like 6.
Yeah. You're not getting much of a discount.
5 and 7.
Yeah, you're not getting much of a discount. But if you do remember to when he was healthy, he was getting passing game work too. He was getting it all.
Mm-hmm. And that may have been nobody else because our boy freaking disappointed the hell out of us.
But he was getting it all. So some people like that's a high risk to me. That's a higher risk than a CMC to me. But if you want to take that high risk and you can recall back to him being a true bell cow, getting all the work, even they were incorporating him more in the passing game. Yeah. He was league winner.
Who's the backup for them right now? Who's the back for the Titans? I know they drafted Haskins, but I think they resigned.
Terrible to me.
I think they resigned. I don't really care for me either.
Yeah, I actually went back and looked at it. You're right. You're right.
I think they resigned Dontrell Hilliard as well.
Yeah.
But they lost Foreman, so did they replace Foreman? And they lost Evans.
And this is one of those situations. This is what I've learned from last year. Kind of going back, bringing things back from last year. Is like I'm not, backfields like that. I don't care who the backup is because it doesn't matter. If Derrick Henry gets injured, guess what? They're bringing more people in, and who we think is the backup right now,
really the backup.
or who's number 2 on the depth chart right now, doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to be taking over Derrick Henry's role when if Derrick Henry gets injured. So even a Hassan Haskins, like if you're drafting him like late in the 20, and I'm not saying not to, I'm not doing it because I don't think he's a good player or NFL. I won't say good player, but you know what I mean. But I think if Derrick Henry goes down, they're bringing in more bodies, and it's not necessarily Haskins' job.
Right. So it's Haskins, Hilliard, and Jordan Wilkins comes over from the Colts, right?
Yeah, and Jordan Wilkins has never been able to do anything.
Yeah. So that's their backfield.
So they bring somebody else in. So, getting back to your question, so like I look at a Derrick Henry in a certain way, and I look at someone like a Dalvin Cook in a certain way because we just talked about Derrick Henry in the questionable backup situation. That's why I love a player like Dalvin Cook, a player that could realistically finish as the RB1 or close to it, provide weekly high end RB1 numbers. 3 down bell cow, but has a very clear handcuff role. And granted, new coaching staff, so it's not as much of a certainty as it was last year, but still, we've seen that Madison has been able to kind of help out in those 2 to 3 games. So I draft a guy like, Dalvin Cook, and people say, oh, he's going to get injured. It's already baked in. To me, it's baked in. I'm not drafting any running back. I don't even care if it's Jonathan Taylor and assuming that they're playing all 16, 17 games.
Right.
I'm assuming that they're missing 2 to 3 games. So to me, that's already baked in. So I like the idea of, okay, I got Dalvin Cook and then I got Madison and I don't have to worry about that backfield. Because Madison, for a couple game stretch, can provide you Dalvin Cook-like numbers. So he's a player that I love. But when it comes to a player like Ezekiel Elliott, now it's a different situation. Yes, he's a 3 down back and he can play on all 3 downs, but he's splitting work now, and before when maybe it was like 70-30 that we thought last year and then transition to maybe 65-35. Now we may be looking at a 60-40, 55-45 split.
All this math.
So like
63-37.
But and his ADP reflects that. That's why he's going in the 4th round, but you can tell in drafts that like he's receiving a lot of hate. So at some point, you got to ask yourself, like, when is it worth it? Or do you just completely avoid?
I'm taking all of them.
Yeah.
Because I think all of them are at value because everybody is taking into account what you're asking. They're older and they're probably injury prone.
Yeah.
So their value has all of that baked in.
Yeah.
But that's actually worst case scenario, right?
Yep.
Because if they don't get hurt, or if they do get more than 50-50, maybe they do get 60-40. I mean, it's not great, but it's still better than the 50-50 you expected. Then they're literally all values. And these are not players or you think are going to lose their jobs. Their contracts won't allow them to lose their jobs right now. In Dynasty, it's a totally different discussion in Dynasty.
Right.
But when we're talking about redraft, FFPC, if all of these guys are at a level where people are literally passing them up because they just don't want them on their roster.
Oh, they just don't want them.
Then I'm going to just add them. Like, why not? You know what I'm saying? Because
if you believe in Zeke, this is the thing. You got to ask yourself. Don't ask yourself, like, take out of your mind, like, the idea, I don't like Zeke because he's fallen off from a talent standpoint. Yes, he's fallen off from a talent standpoint. But ask yourself, what do you think he's going to produce? Like, what do you think his role is moving forward? And they have, like, made some changes in the offensive line. Maybe they're a little bit more healthier. Maybe, we'll kind of see.
I mean, at the end of the day,
but
I don't think any of us are going, like, regardless of how much you don't like Zeke or you feel like Pollard is great, I don't think anybody right now will stand 10 toes down and say, I think Zeke is going to be the backup.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like everybody across the whole NFL fandom, fantasy league, is all saying Zeke will start.
Yeah.
Now, the workload is the question.
Yeah.
But when they get out there in the first play of the game, it's going to be number 21 back there.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me I have a starting running back on an offense that supposedly can score points
above
or
average,
be a high octane or whatever, and like is going to be most likely the goal line back.
Yeah.
Now, what are we not going to get? Probably the receiving work. Probably the third down work.
We'll still get.
I mean, you'll get it, yeah. But if you were to make
an
expectation, you're not going to say he's the third down back.
Cow.
He's not the receiver. He's not the full-time role guy.
Yeah.
If that's what we're already saying right now, and people are passing up on him, I'm gonna take him because, again, that's the edge that you're looking for. Because if he ends up doing better, because everything we're saying is negative, but if he ends up doing good or better, you're winning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? 10-15% return is still better than nothing.
So we talked about sort of these aging backfields. Let's talk about shaky quarterback situations. There are a handful of situations that I think everybody feels sort of uneasy about.
Not in Houston.
Yeah, we good over here.
Right?
We good over here. Yeah. Take all that stuff over there. We don't want Jimmy G. We don't want Baker. We don't want Darnold. We don't want none of y'all, but we got Money Mills over here.
We might be a little better with Baker.
We got Money Mills. No, we don't want Baker.
Let's talk about some of these shaky quarterback situations, specifically like Pittsburgh has a shaky situation. I mean, with Trubisky, they draft a running back, early. Like, how are you guys sort of taking advantage of some of these shaky quarterbacks?
I don't think that's shaky, though.
No,
you don't think so?
Pickett starting day one.
You think so?
The reason why I say I don't think it's shaky, because first of all, it's the classic scenario of you got this bridge quarterback, you draft another quarterback that's the future to get you by for this year, and then you're either going to play the rookie sometime this year when he takes over, or he's going to be the guy next year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? After he learns literally the classic scenario.
But you look at what they floated out Trubisky's contract and
that's what I was going to mention. The contract, so, it's very performance / playing time based.
Yeah.
Extremely. You know what I'm saying? And they already got a good value on the contract in the first place, so it's not even
quite
like
honestly, you want Pickett starting anyway.
Yeah, you want to give him a rep.
Fantasy teams, you want Pickett because nobody's really. I mean, maybe at some point, maybe you would have taken Trubisky like late.
I can't just let Trubisky slander occur. Right?
what I'm saying is,
like,
in
Trubisky's not bad.
What I'm saying is, in redrafts, you likely were not drafting Trubisky as your QB1.
No.
Maybe you were taking a late round flyer because maybe potentially some,
but I'm not taking Pickett either, though.
But my point is, from a fantasy standpoint, we want Pickett. Because Pickett
for the other guys.
Yeah, for the other guys.
So you don't think Trubisky can do anything for the other guys?
I think Pickett is more accurate. I think he's less likely to run. I think he's less likely to steal any type of goal line work,
Okay.
And so, because remember, this is an offense that does incorporate RPOs. Nobody really, put any credence in their RPO system last year because it was Big Ben. Right. But now you got, some somewhat mobile quarterbacks back there. But
is our boy McFarland still there?
Yeah, and Snell. They both still there.
What about Canada, the OC?
Canada's still there. Canada's
okay,
good.
Yeah. I might go back to the well, bro.
Yeah. You be following well?
I might go back to the well. I'll just put it out there right now, so don't look at me funny.
But
later.
But anyway, I want Pickett back there because I still like Deontay. Deontay's ADP right now too is up there, man. It's yes. You go in the back end of the third. He's going to the back end of the third. I'm like,
he was a value for like 2-3 years, bro.
He was. But back into the third, like I really would want Pickett back there because you don't know what the chemistry is going to be.
You can't do back in the third.
And Pickens, man, I'm telling y'all don't want to believe me, but I'm telling y'all, Pickens is going to be the real deal.
You like Pickett?
Pickens.
Oh, he's been texting about Pickens the last week. Yeah. But let's also talk about.
Don't forget Calvin Austin too.
And Calvin Austin.
Don't forget Calvin Austin. I don't want it, man. He's small as hell.
Yeah.
But when I watch that highlight tape, man, like He's a different
That boy
speed,
fast.
like Tyreek Hill speed.
What about like this Atlanta team with Marcus Mariota as well? Like
Same scenario though.
Same scenario. So
Actually, I think that's a little different.
Yeah, I can see Mariota starting and then eventually, because that's not a playoff team. Mm-hmm. So Mariota, I can see starting and then eventually them going to Ritter.
See, but I don't even think that. I think it don't even matter. I think they're drafting a guy next year. I think this is all. They're all.
It doesn't matter.
Positioning themselves
It doesn't matter.
to draft their guy next year.
Yeah.
And I feel like Ritter probably just fell. If plays cool,
Yeah.
I don't think Ritter's that great of a quarterback. I mean, he's super fast. He tested.
He's Mariota.
Yeah.
Inaccurate.
Yeah, he's Mariota.
A little bit, he's got
he's
a little bit
Mariota. He's
mobility.
Mariota.
But in that system, I think they do want to establish to run a little bit more.
They got to.
And work off play action pass.
Dog, look at their receiving. All they got is the rookie.
Look at their backfield.
Yeah.
Tyler Algier.
And Cordell.
You don't want to hear
That's
it.
but that's what I'm saying.
And Cordell's going late in drafts too. So
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like they're
angling.
angling themselves because they didn't even put a team, a really competitive team out there. So you know they're going to draft in the top 5 next year.
Yeah.
And there's literally like 5-6 quarterbacks coming out next year that are going to be pretty, well sought out. So I don't think Ritter's a thing. Mariota is definitely not. He got a 2-year contract.
Yeah.
So
And in that division, you can probably pencil them in for 0 for 6.
I didn't even think about that. They losing against the Bucs. They losing against the Saints.
Yeah.
The Panthers. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
But they literally could be a 1 or 2, overall pick next year.
Yeah.
So we often talk about running back by committee systems, right? But let's talk about receiver by committee systems. It seems like this Kansas City offense, they lose Tyreek Hill. It seems like they are going with the receiver by committee system. I think Robinson is gone. Not that matters.
Yeah, they lost
keep
Robinson,
McCole.
Where did
Pringle.
Robinson go? The Raiders?
Robinson, Pringle.
I think so. Yeah.
Pringle to Bears.
and then obviously Tyreek Hill. I don't want to call it a running back or a wide receiver by committee. You know what I equate this situation to, and this is like one of my lessons learned.
I think I know. Go ahead. For the Texans, when the Texans got rid of DeAndre Hopkins, tried to bring. Okay, go ahead.
You got Texans on the brain?
Yeah, I do.
We can talk about it if you want. I'm just saying. If y'all want to talk Texans,
hindsight.
All right, so here we go.
All right, now, dang, I lost my train of thought. Now.
You were saying
What is this?
what the Kansas City receiving core was reminding you of.
Oh yeah, you know what I equate this to?
What?
I equate this to Matthew Stafford with the Rams and us not, us like really not knowing or
the
thinking
guy.
we knew who the wide receiver was, but really not appreciating what could be.
Because we were drafting Robert Woods
we were
really
drafting
high.
yeah, and then,
Well, they were both going around the same area.
But no one like really just put their foot on,
Right,
or at least
Cooper
put the
Kupp,
idea, within the realm of possibility of Cooper Kupp doing.
Being
And maybe there
what
were other things that kind of went into play. But if I look at the Kansas City Chiefs and I look at their history, it's really been sort of kind of a 2 wide receiver system. They operate through Tyreek Hill and through Travis Kelce. So remove Tyreek Hill. Nobody's going to replace Tyreek Hill. But the idea that, Mahomes and the system now is going to change to, okay, now everybody gets equal share. That I don't buy.
Right.
I do think there is going to be a wide receiver that's going to emerge.
Who you think is going to be?
I want it to be Sky Moore. I actually do think it's going to be Sky Moore. I don't think it's going to be Juju. I think, Juju, this is year 2 where he's only been offered a 1-year contract.
Yeah,
This is 2 years of just like bad film. And I'm not just blaming Roethlisberger for it. I think, whether it's his knees or his him just kind of like being done, I don't see him as, in that offense of being someone that you really want to try and scheme to get open because I think his yak at this point in his career is questionable, even given how young he is. And I also just think he's just not someone you can just line up on the outside. So I'm not saying I'm going to ignore him, but he's also the one currently right now with the earliest ADP. So to me, he's an easy
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah, to me, he's an easy one. So then the next off the board is Sky Moore. And yes, I grant it. Young, sexy pig. Definitely someone that we all kind of have, these
You think he's sexy?
Whoa.
sexy pick. Come on now. Bro, let's not
This is
get
a safe space. This is a
get
safe
kicked out
space.
the airway.
I was gonna say, you said like
This is a safe
like,
space.
That's why
I
I'm
didn't
making season
I didn't
three
know you were evaluating that, but okay, that's what you're
You're
saying.
gonna make me say something I shouldn't. No, but anyway.
The FFPC to control us legally.
Yeah, control.
We're good.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, there will be no slander on this podcast.
Right.
So wait,
Everyone's accepted. No, but so
yeah.
Sky Moore, to me is I think the guy that potentially, And it's not so much that like I have like a strong conviction of it, but I love the talent.
Yeah.
I love the situation, and I love the idea. Again, I don't think he's going to be Tyreek Hill, but given where he's going in drafts, I'm more than comfortable taking a shot and throwing a dart at that. So before they took Sky Moore, y'all know I was texting about MVS. You know, I felt like this is a situation where a guy that, yes, we've seen him as only this sort of kind of deep post route guy, really limited route runner. But he was one of those guys who kind of coming out of the draft was like, highly touted. And so putting him in this system, maybe they're able to, get more out of him. So he's someone I'm going to take a shot at. But what I want to learn from 2022 is to not throw all my eggs in the Sky Moore basket, and to diversify and make sure that I put in my mind or take into account all the potential possibilities that, okay, yes, even though I think Sky Moore is a guy, it could also be MVS. And so I want to have a little bit of, and then maybe it could be a situation where they spread the ball around, but I think there's a better than decent chance that one guy emerges as a true nice either stable wide receiver 2 or potentially even a low end wide receiver 1.
So I actually just sit here and just think about it.
And the last thing, CEH too.
Ronald Jones too, but I think it could be a wide receiver committee. And I say that because you're right. They got Juju. Juju signed a 1-year contract, and I really feel like he wasn't really sought out and
doesn't seem like it.
It doesn't look like Juju's the guy. He could be, but he doesn't look like he's the guy. They drafted Sky Moore in the 2nd round. Whatever. Great, athletic profile combine. He showed out. Not tall, but stocky. Almost has a Debo appearance to him.
Yeah.
MVS, they gave the bigger contract to. I want to say it was a 2-year contract. I forgot the exact numbers, but definitely more money than they played Juju.
Oh, yeah,
and the fact that you're telling me MVS out of those 3 is going last, he definitely is the value, just hearing you talk.
Yeah.
But, and again, it just literally just hit me. They also signed a whole bunch of other, sporadic guys. They re-signed Josh Gordon, which is like, I don't know why, but they did.
Yeah.
They signed a blast from the past, Corey Coleman, out the blue.
Yeah.
They
need bodies though.
They signed the undrafted, but do they really? Because they only lost 3 guys.
Bodies. They do need bodies. They need backups.
I mean, but
that seems like a full.
But
they just
you signed 3 guys. Some of those guys are kind of shaky. Some of those guys have injury histories.
No, but compared to last year, they only lost 3 guys because they still got Miko there.
Yeah,
who's a
Miko is the one guy that I just completely disrespected. But I've seen enough of Miko. We weren't a Miko fan last year.
Me too.
Yeah.
We weren't a Miko fan last year, and I'm like,
me too. But he's still there.
He's still there. Yeah,
he's still there. So the guys I mentioned, and then they added the dude from Clemson, Justin Ross.
Ross, yeah.
It's like,
I
mean, again, the talent, there might be different levels of talent, but just the fact they brought in all these guys, and there's not to mention there might be other guys on the roster.
Yeah, it's early in May.
Thinking about it feels as if they're like, look, we're just bringing in a whole bunch of guys, cream rise to the top, and we're just gonna open it up, aerial attack.
This is one of those situations where talent to me precedes the situation, but I still think it's a good situation.
It is a good situation. Of course, if Mahomes is tied to you, it's always going to be a good situation.
And it took me a while to get here, but I'm actually buying Mahomes. Remember that year we were on Deshaun Watson?
Mm-hmm. What do you mean buying Mahomes? Like you're drafting him in the 3rd?
He's not going in the 3rd.
Where's he going?
He's going like in the 5th, 6th round. I got him in the 6th round.
No,
that I got him in the 6th round. I'm telling you, your boys better start drafting right now. I'm telling you, I'm gonna do a draft tonight.
He going in the 5th or 6th?
I'll pull it up right now. I think he went in the 6th.
No, you don't need to. That's crazy.
The year that Deshaun Watson lost DeAndre Hopkins, everyone was scared. And what we talked about was
we were all over.
We talked about addition by subtraction because you could already see the mental growth of Deshaun no longer just sort of kind of relying on wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And this is what you're hoping that Kyler Murray does this year because he didn't do that last year. Mm-hmm. We still have not seen him be able to kind of
Kyler also
read
was
the field.
hurt for like half the season. Yeah. So,
but still, when you're hurt and immobile, you should ideally be able to read the field now. And he still hadn't gotten there.
Kyler runs.
Yeah.
Kyler got there by running. He ain't going to stop.
But anyway, so the idea behind us being on Watson was, addition by subtraction. We felt like he was going to improve now he had to sort of kind of incorporate all of his wide receivers. He could no longer just lean on one guy. And so
I think that's kind of what's going to happen with Mahomes.
And I think that's what's going to happen with Mahomes. And when you can open up the entire field and the defenses like have a hard problem of being able to like game scheme of taking Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce out, and you got other guys that can show up, and even as much as I don't like Juju or an MVS, and I'm gonna say I don't like them, but I'm down on them. They're NFL starter talents.
Right.
Better. They're upgrades from the Robinsons, and I kind of like Pringle, but I think MVS brings a little bit of more dynamic. But you have more. I think of a better tier, when all guys combined, that will allow Mahomes to sort of kind of be able to, maybe take that next step as a quarterback.
But let's be real.
Yeah,
it's Travis Kelce.
Oh yeah. I smashed Travis Kelce in the first round. I drafted him at 6 overall.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Ronald Jones.
Patrick Mahomes in the 7th round.
Let's talk about Ronald Jones for a second. Yeah. Does he eat into CEH's?
Hell yes.
Carries?
So he eats into the carries where you don't want them. In between the 20s. He is not going to be at all involved in the passing game because he can't catch.
Yeah.
So CEH is going like in the 8th round. This is one of those situations where I'm cautious with. So I will draft him every single time in the 8th round.
I probably would too.
With the idea that, okay, even if they re-sign Darrell Williams or bring in or re-sign Jerick McKinnon, I'll just look at it as, okay, maybe I can use them here and there. But 8th round right now, if they don't bring anybody and that's really like their staple, you're looking at a guy who now gets the 3rd down work, and they like using their 3rd down running back, their pass and catch running back around the goal line. That's one of the easiest smash plays. I don't care how bad, because we weren't on him the years before.
Right. You're literally round, now I'm on him. You're literally breaking down what I said I was doing my drafting process right now. Mm-hmm. That's the type of player I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because, and honestly, when we bring up Ronald Jones, we don't even know if Ronald Jones is going to be the starter. Well, what if Ronald Jones is literally like a true backup and CH is the man?
I don't think Ronald Jones is a starter.
No, what I'm saying is, what if he's like not a timeshare? What if it's not 50-50 or 60-40? What if it's literally Ronald Jones, you don't play unless CEH.
Oh, gotcha. What if CEH is like
and then that eighth round value is ridiculous. You know? Right. And what if that's something we don't really realize until July? Then you would have got your wide receiver. You got this running back that's probably going to end up being drafted in the 5th. If that's the case. Yeah. And we can say on the other end, what if we find out Ronald Jones is a starter? I don't know where Ronald Jones is being drafted. Yeah. But if we find out he's the guy. Then his ADP is going to skyrocket. So that's why at this point, that's the approach I take. But
and that's not a hard backfield to kind of handcuff to get both. You know,
it's not hard at all. I was going to ask you, Jerick McKinnon is not signing with anybody?
He's undrafted right now. Yeah, he's a free agent. Both him and Darrell Williams are free agents right now.
So they can easily come back.
Yeah, those are two guys. Remember we sent out that like list even before Michelle signed. Like, this is a list of undrafted players, particularly the running backs. These are guys that, like, if you got like a deep, redraft league or, a startup or whatever, and you just need to, throw some darts, like, or even like in FFPC right now, like, I drafted Michelle and like he ended up signing. He may still not be worth much, but like you never know what type of situation these guys are going to end up come September. You drafted in May. We're 5 months away from the season open. A lot can happen. So a guy like McKinnon who put a lot on tape last year, or Darrell Williams who was like decent, maybe they end up in situations like in Atlanta where Atlanta's like really looking for someone. Atlanta, spent money on Mike Davis. So who's to say they won't go out and go get someone like a Darrell Williams,
I do think Atlanta's bringing somebody in. Yeah. And Snoop Connor of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just look at that guy. What was I going to say? Back to the Chiefs. So McKinnon's not re-signed. Darrell Williams has not been back there, right? They did add a guy, Isaiah Pacheco. He has a little bit of skill. If nobody else is signed, he might be a guy you just want to kind of stick in the back of your mind as somebody that,
Right now, their backfield is CEH, Ronald Jones, Derek Gore is still there.
Derek Gore is still there?
Yeah. Who filled in great last year.
He did.
And then Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah. Oh, so he's the 4th running back.
Yeah.
One or two injuries away, bro.
One or two
injuries away.
All right, so let's talk about Dynasty now. This was my first year startup Dynasty.
Both of them.
Yes.
Both of them finally popped their cherry. Yeah, they did their first Dynasty startups.
But now I'm scared. Because here's the thing. Like, I feel like I have all these Dynasty ADPs in my mind. Does playing Dynasty make you a worse redraft drafter? Like I feel like it's gonna make me worse in redraft fantasy.
So, and we were talking about this before we started the show, but for me, I do think drafting in Dynasty, specifically startups, and doing redraft at the same time is a bad idea. Because the thought process theoretically, or the way I approach it, the thought process of me doing my startup in Dynasty is much different than my thought process in redraft.
Okay.
You know? So if I'm doing them at the same time, I do kind of have these ADPs jumbled in my head. Right. Because when you're drafted, you just drafted. You know, it's like, oh, I'm on the clock. You're my guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So for me, and I haven't done any Dynasty startups this summer. This is actually the first summer I haven't done a Dynasty startup in a while. Not really sure why. We'll see what happens. But for me, when I'm doing Dynasty startups, I have to literally stop and wait some days. Like recalibrate to some extent, maybe read some stuff or look at boards. The easiest way I always just look at boards, gotta see how people are falling. But I wait those few days and then I say, okay, now let me do my redrafts. Because it is gonna affect you. Like age is like evil, you know what I'm saying? In Dynasty. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when we talk about age, we're talking about like running backs over 26, 27, receivers over 30. You know, quarterbacks can play forever. You know, I
definitely have seen some of that mindset carry over to the redraft. But I'll say, you know, I feel like for me, you know, it's kind of taking me that next step, that next level.
Makes you think about it a little bit deeper.
I felt like, and really, honestly, it started, I would say, like you know, midway or a third of the way through my startup Dynasty draft, where I was like. Sorry, on call. It started, you know, during that draft process or that startup, and I really had to kind of pay attention to these rookies that were coming off the board. You know, it's one thing to kind of like watch the highlights once and then kind of take small notes, and another thing to kind of go back and try to like look at individual game film and then read others' evaluation, and then go back and say, oh yeah, you know. And part of that process, like I feel like I've learned so much. Like I brought up the idea of like, okay, watching, you know, guys like Chase just run free or just, you know, be faster than everyone else, just be bigger than everyone else, and wonder how that's going to translate. Well, now, like, when I go back and watch his film, you know, and I did this on purpose, I start to see other intricacies that, like, other people commented on, and, you know, as far as, like, their evaluation. And so I'm just, like, learning. It's been, like, a real learning process. So guys like Sky Moore now, I feel a lot more comfortable drafting.
Right.
You know, guys like, you know, when guys get super high on Dameon Pierce, and I was like literally in the middle of the draft before he went off the board. I was like,
I like Dameon Pierce. We got to talk about Dameon Pierce, right?
We do got to talk. But I was like, you know, at some point before he got drafted to the Texans, I was, you know, I'm sitting there in like round 14 or whatever of the startup, like, man, I really like Dameon Pierce just because I like loved his tape. And then he goes to the Texans, you know, and I'm not like in love with him, but like understanding, you know, how the Texans operate, at least in our minds, or what we've seen, knowing the level of talent, even though I like him, he's still not someone like I feel like I got to go after and go get. So like now I have a better comfort level with that. Whereas like if I had not really watched film on him or like, you know, had like really studied him, I think I would be like reaching to grab him, you know, with the idea that, okay, I just saw, you know, a couple of highlights here or there. Same thing with the Breece Hall. Like, I have him valued at a certain level that I think is appropriate because I felt like I really studied as opposed to just sort of kind of taking everybody's word that this is like the next greatest running back.
So, one thing, and again, this is, when we talk about they just did their first startups, we're talking about like within the last month.
I'm still in the draft.
He's still doing his, So they're still kind of in the midst of it. They're, you know, their brain is still kind of processing what they went through or what they're going through. You know what I'm saying? But I always try to, people that are fresh to the Dynasty world, I always try to tell them the way to truly grasp people's mindset or what's going on is you want to look back in years in the past and see how people were being evaluated or viewed at that time. For instance, the draft of 2020, 2020, right? Like, look at these 4th, 5th, 6th round running back, 4th, 5th, 6th round receivers, and just how, people at the time viewed their roles or how it was going to be on the team, and then just think about how it played out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you start to say, okay, you end up getting these gems like your Elijah Mitchells, your James Robinsons.
Yeah.
But you also end up getting these duds that literally are out the league within a year or two. So that it makes you realize, okay, I can't. Well, this is just for me. I don't want to just go all in on running backs.
Yeah.
But I know there's certain running back or certain players where they can end up being that diamond in the rough, and if I get them real late, and I just be patient a little bit, I can end up getting a great, great player.
Yeah.
But that's something where once you play Dynasty for a little bit, you start to see how things end up playing out. Like Jalen Hurts, for instance.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, rookie draft, he was drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round, 2-3 years ago, because everybody was like, he was drafted on Carson Wentz's team. He was a 2nd round pick. His measurables weren't that great, short, all of that stuff. So he's being drafted in rookie drafts like mid-2nd to 3rd. If you took a stab on him, just been patient, now you got a quarterback that's quarterback 1.
Yeah.
Now he might not have long-term value, just to seeing how things play out.
Like not starting next year.
Right. Just kind of seeing what happens there. But but I mean, same thing with Davis Mills. Davis Mills being drafted in the 3rd round last year.
Yeah.
Then you have somebody like Kyle Trask, who drafted probably right around the exact same time Davis Mills is, and he's almost valueless right now.
Yeah.
Like, you can cut Kyle Trask and nobody's gonna pick him up. So Dynasty is an interesting game, and you have to think about it a little bit deeper than redraft. My big thing is contracts. That's kind of why I'm on contracts, because I want to see how long is this player going to be on this team. For
now
sure.
I get it. Yeah.
Because that's so telling.
Yeah,
It's so telling.
It's just so different though. Like the trading of picks, which is not in not in the
trading
redraft.
is something you really have to get used to.
Oh yeah, man. Because the trades are just coming every single pick.
Yeah.
And then you have to think years down the line. People are trading 2023 picks, and then you're thinking, what is that draft going to look like? And it's only 7 rounds.
And then you start
FFPC.
becoming familiar with the players that are coming out.
Yeah.
So then you even look at it even deeper. You're like, okay, let me see these guys that are eligible for the draft next year and the mock drafts and things like that.
Yeah.
It's so different. But again, that's why I have to say, okay, I'm focusing on Dynasty now.
Yeah.
When I'm done with this, I need to unplug.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going to scramble my mind and forget all that, put my Dynasty teams to the side, and say, now redraft.
Yeah. And speaking with Damian Pierce, because it's like not leave, because we did, I think we feel.
Yeah, tell the people.
Yeah, so look, the way that I'm viewing Damian Pierce right now is like he's not somebody that I want to take early in drafts, and he's not going early, but I don't even want to take in the mid rounds. I don't want to take like 7th.
Where's he being drafted?
I think he's going like in the 7th, 8th round.
That's
or
crazy.
Not 7th, maybe 8th.
He shouldn't even
round.
be in the single digits.
Yeah,
he should not be.
Yeah, the way that I think I recall back to last year when we were trying to figure out what was going to happen in this backfield, and we were just everybody was just like deathly wrong. What ended up happening was they just used everybody. They used everybody, and the one guy that was probably the most valuable
was Ingram.
Not even Ingram. It was Woodhead. Not
Burkhead.
Woodhead. Burkhead.
That was
yeah.
late in the season though.
Yeah, it was Burkhead, but we all just sort of kind of casted him off,
Yeah.
And he was the one that had the kind of 3rd down role. But they basically showed that they wanted to use everyone, and it's kind of, to me, it really is the same mindset. Even though we had Pep Hamilton coming in, I think it's the same mindset. And I want to say Hamilton and Mack kind of overlapped a little bit. And you can say all you want to say about how bad
Actually,
Mack
I
is.
don't think they did.
Okay. Yeah, but you can say how bad Mack is. You can say how old Burkhead is. And we could have said the same things last year and still use all 3 backs. So to me, the idea of me drafting Damian Pierce would be like that guy that you get at the very end, and if you can be patient enough to where it's the back end of the year and this team is not making the playoffs and they want to go in evaluation mode, or Burkhead gets hurt, then you kind of have a player that maybe is seeing more time and then eventually kind of takes over that role. That's how I value him. I do not value him as someone who's coming to starting day one is going to have this 3 down back role.
And with people knowing that I'm a Texans fan, a lot of people have literally reached out to me directly and have asked me my thoughts on Dameon Pierce.
Yeah.
And for me, kind of, you know what I'm saying, a little, or, you know, mimicking what you're saying, I don't think he is going to just be the sole guy there.
Yeah.
I would even question him being the main guy there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He might possibly be in an equal share timeshare. He might even not even be one of the top 2 in a timeshare. I can see all of that. And here's the thing about it as well. It's not just Burkhead who they re-signed, who's actually the Texans' first signing this offseason was Burkhead. The very first signing was Burkhead.
And you know who the GM is.
Right.
You
Not
know where
only
he came
Burkhead
from.
there,
Yeah.
Marlon Mack, who they were talking up for a while, they brought him in for a workout and then signed him days later. And they talked about him plenty of times here locally, so we hear about him. I think they're high on both of them. But also, they signed Dare Agumbawale.
Yeah, Agumbawale.
They waiver picked up Royce Freeman last year. He became a free agent, and then they re-signed him.
Yeah.
So he's there too. So you have all these other bodies where it's like, again, like we were saying earlier, if week 1 comes out and Royce Freeman's the starting running back for the Texans, I might be like, I didn't expect that. But I'm not just gonna be like, oh my gosh, like what the hell? I didn't see this coming.
Yeah.
You know? So,
and you can say, people say cream rises to the top, talent wins out. Man, not always.
Yeah.
No, not always.
We always preach, or I
Not
always preach. My biggest saying, because and it's funny because I've been in people that follow me on Twitter probably see I've been in these spaces, right, where they like are just talking, you know. And the reason why I'm in a lot of these spaces because I like to hear what fans or other people are saying or thinking, and you know I just kind of sit back and listen. I always chuckle to myself because these people in these spaces talk so matter of factly.
Yeah.
This is what's gonna happen. This is how they think.
Yeah.
This is who such and such. And I always think to myself, man, it literally doesn't matter whatsoever what we think. Like whatsoever. If the coaches, wherever he's at sitting in his office, he's like, man, this guy's a baller. Yeah. And I'm looking at the same guy like, man, this guy's trash.
Yeah.
The guy's probably gonna play.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, man, why the hell is this bum playing? You know what I'm saying? But it literally, I have no effect on it whatsoever.
That comes, you know, that's funny because remember we were talking about, you know, I forget what the discussion was, but it was, you know, you're trying to figure out, I think, who to pick up, who's your next pick in your dynasty draft, and you know, you threw out a couple names, and then I was like, you know, and then we were talking about talent and situation. And I was like,
talent versus
situation. I was like,
situation.
well, talent is subjective, you know. People, you know, and then
that's a topic for an episode later.
Situation is subjective too. I mean, subjective. Everything's subjective, man.
Everything is subjective, man.
But So, and I think we were talking about Dameon Pierce, right?
Yeah.
So, I think people are overvaluing him because it's slightly frustrating. Not really. I get it. But people really don't understand how the Texans operate. And they try to take what they believe the way they should operate and try to fit that in to their thinking. When in reality, they have to just ignore everything you think of is reasonable, that makes sense, and just look at what's happening. And with Dameon Pierce, I think people are overvalued because they feel like he's the most talented there. Which again, doesn't matter what we think. The coach think he didn't use high draft capital on him. 4th round pick, man. Come on. They assume he's the most talented, so he's gonna take that job. I've seen people even talking about he might be the starting running back week 1. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying for you to make that jump, there's nothing that's shown that. There's nothing whatsoever that's shown that. So be careful with Pierce. I definitely want to see him succeed. I watched a little bit of him, but he has so few carries last year or in college. There's not much tape on him. The same highlight I keep seeing is when he's running the ball and his helmet gets knocked off and he's still trying to run and get it. They keep showing that highlight. I'm like, show me something else.
I liked him though. I
definitely like him. I definitely like him. I mean, he's a Texan. I mean, I'm definitely rooting for him. His pass receiving profile is probably not that great.
No, he looked good out the pass. He looked good catching. Yeah, he looked good catching the ball.
I didn't see too much of it.
A lot of his issue was like, you know, he didn't take, which doesn't matter when he's playing with him playing for the Texans, but he didn't have like a large workload.
Right. And then on top, so with that being said, you can't expect him to have a small or a low level workload in college and then just go into the NFL and just all of a sudden bell cow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
But it's not usually
But he
the
does
case.
look good on film. 'Cause he's like one of those guys. And this is again, keep going to Rashad White. Watch, he's gonna blow up this year. But I watch him, and I know he ran, I think, like a 4.4.
But then he's fast, yeah.
But then I look at his games. I'm like,
He don't run 4.4.
He looks like old girly, not like old girly, but like old girly.
Yeah. the last time he saw a girl.
Yeah, he like right when you're like, I don't think I'm gonna be drafting him next year.
I'm gonna create a hashtag. What happened to Todd Gurley, man?
Yeah.
Because he got cut. Just go from one of the top NFL backs to 2 years later just.
Yeah, but Dameon Pierce looks fast on tape. He looks explosive on tape. That's why.
I think he ran like a 4.6 though.
But another one is like Kenneth Walker.
You like him?
No, I don't. I'm not a fan. I felt like he bounced out. Relied on the speed quite often. I wasn't a huge fan. I can see why he went.
I'm still trying to figure out how to think about him too.
But that's not a situation that I necessarily like. And the idea that he's just gonna take over a Penny. I mean, I think right now he's being drafted. I want to say in the 6th, 7th round.
People just
super early.
Disrespect my boy Rashad Penny,
man.
He showed y'all everything he needed to show y'all last year.
He was like the RB1 the last 3 or 4.
All he has to do is stay healthy.
Yeah,
if he can stay healthy,
well, that's a big if.
It is.
Now that offense is gonna look a lot different now that you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. You're definitely right. They did draft, I think, a couple linemen, which would be good because they've always had a horrible line.
Yeah, and I don't care what they're saying. They drafting for next year. They set up. They when they got linemen, defensive players. Then they got Kenneth Walker. They're setting up for next year's.
I'm trying to tell you, a lot of these teams are angling to make sure they get one of the top quarterbacks next year. There's 4 or 5. Of course, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. And I don't know all their names.
Yeah, and they're not going to take, but I don't think that they wanted to spend draft capital or picks to try and go get a Baker Mayfield and then struggle in that situation.
Well, let's hold off on Baker for right now. That's a topic for another.
Are we not talking about Baker today?
No.
No, I want to know what you think about Baker.
No.
Before things change, because something can change tomorrow, and then it'll all go out the window. What do you think is going to happen with Baker? Because you feel like there's some kind of hill you're on, and you're dying. I did. And you're like, man, I'm not leaving this daggum hill.
Baker to the Lions, Detroit. Listen, Baker needs a fresh start. He gets a fresh start. Detroit is a perfect place for him.
Goff didn't play that bad last year, though.
Yeah, but you don't think that you can get back to a Super Bowl with that roster?
I don't think you can get
let me ask you this. Okay, so first of all, let's dig slightly.
We're eating into topics that we have a long season.
Okay,
I don't want to talk about Baker.
Just slightly. Mm-hmm. Baker's on a 1-year contract basically right now.
Essentially.
Okay, so if you trade for him, you either got. I don't think you can do his 5th year. I think it's done now. You have to re-sign
You have to pay him. Right?
You have to re-sign him. So whoever's taking him is to some extent a rental until you make that agreement, right? Mm-hmm. But my question is, do you think Baker is still good?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Baker's a good quarterback.
You feel like he's still starter quality type?
Yes, and the interesting thing is right now it seems like they're probably going to have to hold on to Baker, try to get his trade value up because I think we all believe that Deshaun is going to be suspended at some point.
I don't know.
I don't think he's.
If he gets suspended, then that gives them the perfect opportunity to play Baker, get his trade value up, and then trade him mid-season.
Okay. Do you think that's really do you think what can they do to get his trade value up?
If he listen, Amari's there. If he shows up and lights it up for the first.
NFL told you what they thought of Baker.
Yeah, they've already told you, bro.
They told you what they thought of Baker.
I don't think there's anything Baker can do.
They told you what they thought of Baker.
They'll make people be like, oh shoot, you saw what Baker did? We need to call the Browns.
You see that Baker Mayfield commercial?
Hey, we need to get him here.
Laugh now.
Well, since we throwing our predictions, in my prediction, Hunt may finish the year as a Kansas City Chief.
Ooh.
Whether it's Hunt gets cut and then gets signed by the Chiefs, I don't know. They always working behind closed doors, doing things illegally. But we all know his kind of contract situation. Potential cut candidate is good, but he's one of those players right now. If you draft him early, he's falling. I think 7th, 8th round. If you're doing a 0 RB build, he's one of those players right now that because he already has some standalone value too. Mm-hmm. But if he gets cut or traded, boom. And I know it's a random thing, but that's I
have Dearness.
Right, I was for whatever reason, I can't get that out of my head right now.
They clearly feel good about Dearness Johnson being there. So why not?
Guy.
Yeah, and they drafted a guy.
Okay, so for me, just some dynasty names.
No.
Oh, no?
No. Predictions. Since we all gave predictions. Yeah.
Predictions. He don't have no predictions out.
I know. That's why I wanted
like
to get it
like
together. He tried to get out of it. That's
NFL predictions of the season?
Yeah. Like that you think something splashy too. Like
I think the Cowboys are gonna have a horrible season.
Okay, that's.
I love it. And on that note,
I do.
Specific player being moved. Like, give me a prediction.
I don't make predictions like that. That's like fortune telling right there.
Exactly. Come on.
Let's see. You just kind of putting me on the spot. I think Drake is gonna get cut.
Okay.
Drake.
Which means that's another body, another free agent to be added.
The Packers are going to add a receiver, whether it's Odell, Julio, or Landry. I do believe that's going to happen.
I've been hearing something about Odell going to Green Bay.
He's still hurt, though.
Yeah.
I feel like we haven't heard the end of Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray's status with their teams and contract.
All right. So let's go there.
I feel like there's going to be more to that. I don't know what's going to happen. But it has not been resolved yet. Lamar's makes me a little bit more curious now than Kyler's. I feel like Kyler might have a wink and nod handshake kind of agreement with the Cardinals that we don't know about. And if he does, I think it's going to come out before the season because I don't feel like Kyler's going to play the season without something happening with his contract.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I think Tua's fool's goal.
All right, so now you're just giving us a rate.
While at the same
giving
time,
us your opinion instead of the
at the same time, I think Zach Williams is gonna have a good season. Zach Dub, because I still like his arm. So yeah.
You giving it all out.
Right.
One episode.
We got
the Saints. They're gonna be dangerous this year.
Oh yeah,
I think so too.
100% agree.
They're gonna be dangerous this year. That's all I got.
All right. This is episode 1, guys. First and 15. We're back. Please like, rate, subscribe. We're out.
What if we could plan it out? Cabo for a week, Paris for a day. Wee. You can come and be my babe. You can see what a gentleman I am. Yeah. What if we could plan it out? Party in the streets, like the golden days at the beach. Family buzzing in my air like a beat. Maybe you could chill. All this stuff I have up in my head, I just wanna do. Maybe if you come then you can hang, you can meet the crew. We could even chill out at the park like we did in school. Take you back to when you was a kid, everything was cool. Hope you never lose track, life's a little hard when you're not home, yeah. Yeah, I've been going and going, but still on my own, yeah. I'm a soldier, I fight for what's right, so my heart's just been fighting for you. What more can I do? I just wanna put you in a box.